Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report. I'm Jarret Johnson, and I'm doing a video series breaking down the roster position group by position group to kind of preview spring football practice, which is set to begin, according to Texas Tech. They're saying, this like the second week or mid-March, which is a little bit later than usual. But, obviously the spring ball was short, and I think they only got 4 practices in last year because of COVID, of course. But each team is given 15 practices. It's a really important part of the development process. It'd be nice, I think, for this staff, which had that first spring, which was kind of like getting to know each other kind of deal. And then this past spring, that was cut short, only 4 practices. So it'd be nice to get a full round of spring ball in there so you could help develop, the roster. All these new guys on the roster, plus you're implementing a new offensive scheme in terms of with offensive coordinator Sonny Cumbie. So it would be nice. Now we've already gone over the quarterbacks, running backs. Now it's receivers. We're going to do both outside and inside receivers today. Honestly, there's not a ton of receivers compared to in the past. There's 12 receivers on the roster. Not all of them are scholarship guys. This is according to TexasTech.com. But there's some good returners, and there's some really nice young potential coming up. I really like the mix here. All conversation starts with Erik Ezukanma, who's led Texas Tech in receiving each of the past 2 seasons. He had over 40 receptions, I think 730 yards, and 6 touchdowns in just 10 games last year. He was a first-team All-Big 12 performer. Just a really good player. He had the kind of breakout performance I've been waiting for him to have last season, and I've been saying he would. He's still a sophomore, so he theoretically could play a couple more years for you. Just a really good player, one of the top players on your team. Definitely a player that the opposing defensive coordinators, they single out as like one of the first guys. They say, "Okay, we got to figure out a plan for this guy." So to have him coming back is huge for your offense. There's some other guys coming back who have showed promise. They're young, and the first one that comes to mind for me is Trey Cleveland. He's a holdover like EZ from the previous coaching regime. He comes from Arlington. He was a highly recruited guy. He redshirted his first year, and then last year he played got some seasoning, and he showed, as coaches like to say, some flashes. I think he could be a really good receiver for Texas Tech. I know the coaching staff is really high on him. So another guy who definitely showed, look, all right, this is why he was a 4-star guy, and that it came down to Texas and Tech to land him, is Loic Fawonji out of Midland Lee. Last year, he's still a freshman, of course, because of the eligibility waiver, but he played last year some. He had some injuries and things that held him back from being able to have a continual progression last year, but he played more late, and he had a terrific one-handed touchdown catch late in the season, and really showed that athleticism. I really think he's capable of developing into like an EZ kind of guy who's big, 6'4", but can definitely move the chains, do some things for you. But I really see him initially being that deep target that really takes the top off the defense. I think he can be that guy for you right now, like this upcoming season, if given the opportunity. I think he could be a consistent playmaker, or at least consistently open things up for other people because of that athletic ability. So I really like Loic. He's a great talent. I think him and EZ opposite each other possibly would be amazing. But he's not the only one. Though they lost Jalen Polk, who had a really good true freshman season. Him and Loic were in the same recruiting class along with J.J. Sparkman, who's the next guy I want to talk about. So though you lost Polk, I was always excited about Polk, but I was really excited about Fawonji and Sparkman. Sparkman's the guy everyone points to, and we'll have to see it to believe it, right? But that his athletic talent is really eye-opening in terms of his physicality. He's 6'3", he's strong, he plays stronger. They got that East Texas strength and athleticism to him. He's just a guy with tremendous potential. Now, he's coming off shoulder surgery. I don't know how limited he's going to be in spring, but he will be a little bit. But he's supposed to be 100% by fall camp, and I think he's going to make an impact next year. I really do. So that's J.J. Sparkman and Loic Fawonji are two young guys to watch for sure. And then you got to wonder, like, all right, Cameron Cantrell, younger brother of Dylan, who was a star here at Texas Tech. He's also fought off injuries. He was kind of an unheralded guy, but, on the roster, part of the program. Is he going to have an opportunity this year? I don't know. Or does he need a couple more years to develop? We'll have to see. One guy I think is going to play immediately. He's an early enrollee. I'm really glad he's here for spring ball. Is Jerran Bradley, 6'5", all right? 6'5", over 200 pounds. He can really run. Coach Wells has described him as a great route runner, but of course he is a red zone target and a deep threat because of his athletic ability and his size. So, man, I can't wait to see what he looks like in scarlet and black. So those are your main guys on the outside that I'm looking to make an impact at receiver. And then at inside, of course, Texas Tech lost Keyshawn Carter, who was a really good talent, a really good player, a veteran guy. But they return a ton of guys. I think the guy to watch for here at inside receiver is Miles Price. He had a pretty impressive true freshman season. Now, he needs to get stronger. He needs to develop because he had some fumble problems when he got popped a couple times, which is, that's not unusual for freshmen when they go into Power 5 level. But, man, he's explosive. He's a big play waiting to happen. And I think he's going to be very productive in that position. But he's not alone. Dalton Rigdon's an experienced guy who's done things for Texas Tech. He returns. You got to hope that, the concussions aren't a recurring problem for him because he's been in the concussion protocol a couple times. So that's something, definitely to watch for. But, and then joining them, McLean Mannix is a guy who couldn't get right last year. He's always hurt or had some kind of injury. But he's a guy who's caught a lot of passes at the Division I level. So far, you have to say he's been a disappointment in terms of production. Part of that is just all the talent, all the competition at the position, but part of that is he's been injured. So if he can get healthy, he's a known quantity that can make plays for you. I really like him. And then finally, Sterling Galban is a guy, he's been in the program a couple years. He's had a couple of really bad leg injuries, a couple of injuries that have set him back. But, he's a fast, shifty kind of slot receiver guy who I could see that maybe not this year, but maybe so, but maybe by his junior or senior year, he has like one or two big seasons for you where he develops to that. Or maybe we won't ever hear from him because of the competition or an injury bug gets him. But I'll be interested to see what he does if he develops. And he needs a big spring. He needs to stay healthy. He needs to be, as the coaches say, available. And if he is, I think he could do some good things at least some point down the road. But that's it. That's your receiver room. Like I said, there are some walk-ons, but that's the big picture at receiver for Texas Tech this spring. So you're going to have all your guys on hand in terms of in the program. So that'll be exciting to see. I wonder, I mentioned this in the running back discussion. I wonder if Xavier White goes and plays some receiver for you if you're down some numbers. Jadarius Townsend also played some receiver at Alabama, so obviously he could probably play some receiver for you at Tech. So they have more depth than I think it appears. And these guys they really like. They're their guys. And then, of course, you got up top, you got first-team All-Big 12 receiver Erik Ezukanma, who, of course, you're going to lean heavily on. So you're going to see who's throwing them the ball, right, in the games in the upcoming season. That's what they got to figure out, first of all. But I still really like this receiver room. I think especially when you talk about the tight ends, which are going to be the next video, then the picture becomes clear. And you can see, man, this group could really do some things, assuming that all the things come together. We got to talk about offensive line in a couple of videos, how Sonny Cumbie and his staff, really put in the offense, install the offense, and how quickly it's grasped by all. And all those things have to work in concert. But just looking at the receivers in itself, depth is down, but still the potential is very high, and there's some experience in some key spots that I really like. So with that, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.